his speech, and I'm going to butcher this, but he brought up an old Soviet law. Do you know what I'm talking about, Nick? Like it had.
I'm not remembering, but I know he started his story. He said that the Bolsheviks invented Ukraine.
Yes, but he also said like basically he left the door open for that the USSR never really legally dissolved. And that like a lot I do not John, do you know what I'm talking
I don't
about, or am I
remember.
talking out of my
Yeah,
ass?
no, I pulled it up. It was
Thank you.
It was like 2 or 3 days into the Ukrainian invasion. This is a quote from Putin, from this speech from Putin. I'll start with the fact that modern Ukraine was entirely created by Russia, more precisely Bolshevik Communist Russia. This process began almost immediately after the revolution of 1917, and Lenin and his associates did it in a very rude way towards Russia itself by separating, tearing away from it part of its own historical territories. Of course, no one asked about anything to the millions of people who lived there. Then on the eve and after the Great Patriotic War, Stalin already annexed to the USSR and transferred to Ukraine some lands that previously belonged to Poland, Romania, and Hungary. At the same time, as a kind of compensation, Stalin endowed Poland with part of the original German territories, and in 1954, Khrushchev, for some reason, took away Crimea from Russia and gave it to Ukraine. Actually, this is how the territory of Soviet Ukraine was formed.
Yeah, Khrushchev gives the Crimean Oblast to Ukraine for administrative reasons, but realistically, it remained very much in control of the Soviet metropole.
How does this end? How do we get out of here? How do we stop this bloodshed? I mean, in my opinion, I think you got to just give pretty much Eastern Ukraine to the Russians.
Yeah, I mean, that's lost. Like, Crimea is not returning.
Nope.
And by the way, the Russians have a bunch of other shadier reasons for taking Crimea. They have to do with oil. There was a bunch of oil discovered. They need this region to, like, Crimea is also doesn't have any water.
Yep.
So they need this region to secure Crimean water. A bunch of stuff like that.
Well, didn't Ukraine dam some sort of river going?
Yeah, the Ukraine stopped a dam that gives water to Crimea. So the Russians have to bring water to Crimea in other ways. Like these places have not been happy being the Russians have not profited from this in the slightest. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
So here's my crackpot theory, and I'll bounce it off you, Nick. I think so. My family's from the Baltic region, so I'm a little, paranoid about it. But I think, some people have said that Putin's trying just to put back together the USSR, which I think is maybe a little bit. I kind of think that he's trying to connect his oblasts to have land routes to all of the Russian oblasts that are not connected, like Kaliningrad on the Baltic and Crimea, because there's a bridge that goes from Russia across to Crimea, but it could be taken out by a missile. That's their only route there.
Yeah.
Now they have Donbass. They have a land route. I think that I personally think the next thing that's going to go down sometime will be either Poland or just Lithuania and Latvia.
I'm going to press pause
because
right there.
in
John,
Kaliningrad, there's a huge submarine base.
You need to explain Kaliningrad to people that don't understand what that is.
Okay,
please do.
Kaliningrad is an oblast of Russia. It's a political island. It was a former territory of the Prussian Empire, the Teutonic Knights, and the Lithuanian kingdom, the Kingdom of Lithuania. It's right directly west of Lithuania. It's essentially a small city, but has been a part of Russia since the Russian Empire, with the Tsar's Russian Empire. And there has been, I believe, since at least the 70s, a massive submarine base and a huge it's basically just a military base the size of a city. And how they let Russia keep that, I have no idea.
Will you link a map or an image or or like a link so people can look at that? Thank you.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, listen. Strangely missing from pretty much all of Putin's war justifications were economic reasons, right? And it would be foolish to think that these people who very high up in the Duma who are, multi-billionaires in their own right with like very shady money, the oligarchs, it would be very stupid to think that they have no economic considerations for such a massive undertaking. Like, sort of where I view this is that, yeah, all their geopolitical stuff is true. All of it matters a lot to them, sure. Putin's prestige matters a lot to them, sure. This would make him more popular, possibly, if it succeeds. And it looks like it's going to succeed to some extent. And yeah, it sets them up better for the future, right? Like if they swallow up eastern Ukraine, what it looks like it's going to be is like they're going to swallow up eastern Ukraine. Crimea is going to stay with them. Ukraine is going to be a significantly weaker state, having no access to the oil they would have had access to in Crimea, so they're not going to be able to undercut Ukrainian oil. To their north is Belarus. Belarus is already they're a Russian
it's pawn. A Russian like if state. Yeah,
like if Putin tells Lukashenko to like sit down and drink from a water bowl, he's going to do it. And so all of a sudden, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, right, are going to be entirely close to Russian territory, and those people have access to the Baltic Sea. So those are another important area that Russia might look to expand in its future. Yeah, John.
So I kind of think it's partly like I had said, land routes, but then also too, Russia doesn't have land routes to get troops to the Baltic. They don't have access. If they have land routes to Kaliningrad, they could full scale invade any part of Europe or even North America easily. And then too, there's another thing that is interesting that I forget the name of the treaty that was at the Montreux Accord or something that controlled how the Bosphorus Strait was used. Turkey, the United States, and one other country have been fighting to keep the Montreux Convention, which is entirely outdated, in power because there's a stipulation in it that as long as I forget who, I'll look it up, someone has a warship in the Bosphorus Strait, that it is under control by them or something like that. And they're talking about doing something to prevent the United States, I think, is trying to push Turkey to prevent Russia from having direct access out through the Bosporus Strait to basically dig an 80 kilometer something long, basically a canal next to the Bosphorus Strait. And the Turkish government has been buying up land along the Bosphorus Strait for years, trying to eventually do this.
Interesting. I didn't know about the Bosphorus stuff, actually. Yeah. But yeah, like what John was saying is right. There's like a little island of Kaliningrad, which is like in north of Poland, in between Poland and Lithuania and the Baltic Sea. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I mean, it moves up their border by a lot. Belarus is a client state. Ukraine is going to be like weakened and devastated by this, and all of a sudden, a bunch of their ex-states are in a better place. So if they ever decide to have like color revolutions or anything like that, instantly it's a no from Russia.
That's exactly kind of what I think Georgia, because there was a massive civil unrest in Georgia, and as far as I'm concerned, that's pretty much
there was a similar thing in Georgia, right? Like a part of Georgia seceded, and then Georgia invaded to get it back, and Russia invaded Georgia to keep it separate. But like, there's also like the broader question, which is the right of secession, right? Mm-hmm. Like, for example, most recently, I think Catalonia was trying to secede from Spain, and Spain said no, can't do that.
No, but that's the Basque nation, the Basque speaking people, correct, in the north of Spain. Am I wrong?
No, well, the Basque are in North Spain, and they have tried to secede, but Catalonia is where Barcelona and Valencia are.
Yes.
Because they have a completely region. They have a wildly different culture than Spain. It's way more mixed with like the classical more when it was Al-Andalus, when it was ruled by the Moors.
They speak a different language.
It's like a whole different dialect of Spanish. Yeah,
language is important.
Language is extremely important because it's an instant identifier. If you don't like each other, it's an instant way to tell an us versus a them.
Yes,
it's like the clearest linguistic marker. I mean, it's auditory marker to be able to tell someone that's not you.
Yeah.
But yeah, returning to that, so like that's a very interesting question, I think, which is so let's say this way: Donetsk and Luhansk had about 15% of Ukraine's population. So the current war is 37 million versus 7 million. 15% of the U.S. population is California, plus some smaller states. If California and some small Western states say they have a right to secede, do we go to war for that?
100%.
Do you think they should be able to secede?
Well, no. Are you asking me this, dog?
I mean, not asking you to answer the question. It's just, it's on a case-by-case basis, but certainly it goes to the question of, do smaller territories today have a right to secession?
And I'm not going to answer this. I would say our country would go to war over that 100%.
We'd kill Gavin Newsom. King Gavin. Flay him in the town square.
I fucking love you, dude.
Dude, I would vote for like whoever promises that, like, actually Gavin's awesome, but like I would vote for whoever promises to like kill Gavin in like the National Mall in 2024.
There's a guy running.
Fuck, I'm gonna get a phone call from this. God damn it.
Hold on.
I have no ill intentions toward Mr. Newsom and the
Michael Schellenberger is running for governor in California, and I'm not a Californian.
His name is Schellenberger?
Schellenberger, yes.
Not like Shalom Burger?
No. Schellenberger, Schellenberger. Michael Schellenberger. You should look up his policies because they're especially his plans regarding dealing with the homeless seem like they're
what's he running as?
An independent.
No fucking chance, dude.
Independent.
Come on, man. No chance.
I think he's got a chance, man. I think all he's got to do is come in second. I'm excited. I don't know why I'm excited about this.
Does Newsom get to run another term? I don't know.
I think so. I think he's going to.
Dude, it's King Newsom. He's not going away, man.
Dude, don't say that. That's such a dark thing to say. I just don't get that. But back on topic, and I want to be respectful of your time, so we got to wrap it up. But I mean, in your opinion, this ends with the country split in two.
This end, Zelensky's already put out several statements to the effect that Ukraine, what they're going to look to in the future, is going to be Israel. Like they're going to be literally today. He said we're going to try to be a state like Israel. So which means that it's going to be a militarized state, right? So expect there to be a national draft. Expect to see like armed men in movie theaters and stuff like that. Israel has traditionally had enemies on their borders, right? Mm-hmm. So Ukraine looks to emulate that. I don't think they're going to get Eastern Ukraine back. I don't think Crimea is coming back. And yeah, it's going to live having to play the uncomfortable role of buffer state. So I do not feel happy for what the Ukrainians are going to have to put up with in the future.
No.
Yeah.
It's not going to be good.
This has been, I don't know if it's stupid of them or not, but they have not profited very much from this. They've had to subsidize Crimea for a great amount of years. They've had to subsidize like these two breakaway republics. They've been censored, not censored. What the hell is it? The economic sanctioned. They've been sanctioned to hell and back. Like essentially, I think at some point Putin came to the realization, or what he believes is that the United States is going to keep supporting orange revolutions until it ends up in Moscow, until there's one that takes him down. So he decided that, hey, if the West isn't going to deal with me, if their reaction right off the bat is going to be that I am not a legitimate government and the Duma is not legitimate and the Kremlin is a phony government, then if they're never going to deal with me, I'm just going to keep on digging a deeper hole to see if I come out on the other end of the earth. See if I dig deep enough to somehow get out of this.
I mean, him sinking the ruble up with only accepting payments for natural gas and oil with the ruble was pretty fucking clever. Because even though we've sanctioned them,
the ruble bounced back, right?
It's bouncing back. Yeah. So it's like that sanction didn't work. Like the only way that they like he has all of Western Europe by the balls because of all the fuel, right?
Yeah.
And we're buying fuel from him as well. So like I just want everyone to know that.
Yeah.
So him doing that was a good move, and then also getting aid. And this is something I haven't looked into, but I believe he requested economic aid from China. And this is something we've had Laszlo Montgomery on the podcast, host of the China History podcast, right? This is.
I think I've listened to it.
Yeah, this is an area that we need to address because Russia is they're they're a military superpower. They have hypersonic assets, right? So any of our early detection nuclear procedures are nullified because these missiles travel 27 times faster than the speed Mach 27 times faster than the speed of sound, right? Nuclear deterrent. Thank you, John. So they've got us beat on that, and so does China. But China really, they could hurt us. Like look what happened with COVID, right? Like our medical supply chain went down. We couldn't get fucking drugs. We've just sold our souls and manufacturing prowess down the river to them, and the way that they're handling this and watching this, like, all right, so they annexed that, and we know that Taiwan is a rogue state. And I was mistaken by this. I thought that we had almost like a defense pact with Taiwan. That is not the case at all. Until like 6 months ago, I thought that if they invaded Taiwan, we're going to war. And I was like, that's the end of it. That is not the case.
I can't see the United States dying for Taiwan.
No. But what about I believe that Japan included Taiwan into their defense perimeter. I believe that John, will you pull that up? I could be talking.
I think Japan is rearming now.
Oh no, they're fucking full on rearming, dude. They're full on rearming. So are the Germans, which
Don't forget about the Germans. I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, everybody's getting strapped. It's so weird watching everybody getting strapped again. This was like the entire point of what like the 1945 post-World Order was supposed to stop.
I know, dude.
But like, Americans don't want to underwrite anyone's security anymore. Like we're not as rich as we used to be.
We are not, dude. We are not. And I think the complete just utter shambles that our political system is in is just part of the problem. We never addressed that. We never addressed Eisenhower when he said, be careful of the military industrial complex. Like, listen, guys, I'm in office. I was one of the most powerful men in the world 2 times over, right? I was a supreme allied commander of the entire European theater, right? And now I'm the president. I'm essentially at this point in time, he's a fucking emperor. Honestly, he's a fucking emperor. He has all of Europe and all of Asia in the palm of his hand, and he's like, "There's a military-industrial complex, and we need to do something about this."
My reaction to that is fucking gee, thanks, old man. Like, oh, very cool, dude. Something you helped build up all throughout the 50s, and while you're doddering asses out of the way, it's like, oh, by the way, guys, here's something I leave you with, you motherfucker.